Happy Thursday morning. Keith Tebow with you today. Time for our weekly discussion with the mayor of Fall River, Mayor Paul Coogan. Mayor, how are you this week?
Doing great, Keith. How about you?
I am doing well. I guess it's supposed to be a pretty nice day this afternoon, so hopefully people will be able to get out and enjoy some sunshine. I want to get started with COVID-19 and the vaccine. I know the city has been slated to receive some more doses due to the program that the state is running in terms of reaching out to underserved populations. I know in speaking with Tess Curran last week that was supposed to start to happen. Has that begun to happen?
Yes, we've reached out through some emails, some messages. We're pulling data together from housing, public schools, wherever we can, and trying to bring in this targeted population group.
And I know obviously right now more people are eligible to be vaccinated. Those 60 and over are now eligible. In terms of general doses for the regional site, are those still pretty much steady, or have they gone up? I believe it was 400 for
Yeah, I
the
think
general
I would
population.
say we're somewhere around there. I was on the phone this morning with the congressman's office, or I should say texting back and forth. Well, I'm trying to get some more doses in here. We're looking at another bundle of doses. There may be some coming. I'm hearing this is going to break shortly within the next couple of weeks, but right now, we don't have enough doses. We're still far down from the other counties. When you look at it, I sent another email out over the weekend about contrasting us with Hampton County, which has 95,000 less people, 14,000 fewer positive cases, yet we have 45,000 less vaccines in Bristol County than they do. So, I mean, the numbers are just jarring, and I just don't understand why when all we talk about now is fairness and equity, we got shuffled to the side.
Yeah. And in terms of moving forward, I know Thursday is the day that the city releases its latest numbers. Last week, the city was literally on the cusp of dropping out of that, high risk zone. Are you
No,
confident that the city will drop today?
no, I'm not. We had a bad day right at the start of last week. A couple of days low. I am noticing a statewide trend in numbers bubbling up a little bit. Uh, I felt a lot better last week. So again, it's not anywhere near what it was when we were doing, 9,000 new cases a day in the state. We're down around 1,800, but it seems like we've kind of plateaued somewhere between 15 and 1,800. And I think Fall River's running along the same number. If we're up a little bit, we'll be right around the same spot. But it's funny because, as I said to you before, Keith, when we started this thing, it was all PPE, where's masks, where's hand sanitizers. Then it moved to all testing. I can't get a test. I need a test. We need tests. Now it's all vaccines. We don't even get calls anymore about testing. Everybody's calling about vaccines. So it's kind of going through these stages of service to the constituents that changes with the counts.
Yeah, and I know, but it is also still important to keep that message out about testing. If people don't feel well, they feel they have some of the symptoms, that they should still get tested. There's the Stop the Spread site right at Bristol Community College, and testing continues. So people shouldn't be lax on that, right?
No, they shouldn't be. But again, it's just seems like less people in Bristol County are getting tested than before, and they shouldn't be lax on it, and especially if you have any type of symptoms. But it's just in most in the world of COVID, as the priorities shift, um, people just go in a different direction. I still want people wearing masks. I still want people being smart, but at the same time, I know the more vaccines we get to people, the better we'll be.
All right, shifting focus again to stimulus funds. I know last week I asked you about, the money that the city is coming in. Has there been any added clarity in terms of how the city can spend that money?
The short answer is no. We are awaiting a U.S. Treasury evaluation of how the money can be used. It's everybody's waiting for it. If you go online, you'll see everybody's waiting for the definitive uses of this money. Again, Fall River has no shortage of wants and needs, so we'll see what happens. But I'm looking at some things, and I want to know if they're eligible under this new money. Anything we do, though, is going to make the city a much better place to live and take the financial burden off of certain segments of our budget, and that's what we need to do.
I know you mentioned last week when we spoke that you're looking to get input from those within the community. Is there any expectations to allow sort of general public comment on how the city can look at that money?
Yeah, I mean, I think we'll definitely have some kind of a format or a way for them to weigh in on it. But again, I can't imagine that the things we're looking at don't relate directly to what the public sees in Fall River. There may be a few things different, and we'd be glad to pick up some ideas. But I'm waiting both to put the panel together and to decide which way to go when we find out exactly what we can do with the money. There was obviously there's 4 areas that they identified, but one of the Congress people said they never said those are the only areas. And then when you talk about tax relief or not being able to use it for pensions, they're still trying to. Obviously they're in a fight with a bunch of attorney generals across the country about how the federal government cannot dictate local tax relief. So it's there's a lot of moving pieces right now, and when they all shake out, we'll have a plan together that's going to make Fall River a much better place to live for everybody.
How does this impact the process you're going through right now in terms of the fiscal 22 budget? I know you're going to be close to revealing that and unveiling it to the city council for their approval. I mean, does it kind of slow you down a little bit?
No, it just gives us another way to go. What we do is when we look at an expense or something that we're thinking of doing, we look at, in the little bit we do know about the American Rescue Act right now, or the American Rescue Plan. There are some identified things you can do. So if we can match stuff up with those uses, that can take a little bit of the strain off the budget. I think but we're not doing anything set in stone until we get the guidance. And once we get that, we'll know better. But we look at things and say, this sounds like what we've read, this is eligible. But I'm not going to commit to anything until I know exactly where we have to go.
Finally, this week, I want to talk about some good news. Your office announced, I guess it was late last week, the announcement of Ashley DePina Nunes as the Youth of the Year. I know that's always a tough application process for the committee to look over to see some great work that's being done by our youth. And I know we spoke to Ashley this week, and I know she's very pleased and surprised, but also worthy of that acknowledgement. And that goes back to a lot of good work that's happening by city youth across Fall River.
Absolutely. People, it's funny because I worked at Durfee so long, and there were so many students like Ashley that stand out, that apply to the best schools, that have goals, and they strive so hard to achieve them, and they kind of sometimes get lost in the madness of what goes on in a high school. But you get a young lady like that accelerates right to the top, and the whole group that they were evaluating. I mean, I got to believe somehow it came down to some coin flips on some of these people, but I asked Ashley not to run against me for mayor because I don't think I'd have much of a shot against someone with that kind of background. She seemed like a very, very impressive young lady, and I wish her the best, as I did with all the candidates. There was just a tremendous group, and I don't envy the work of the committee to pick one of those people out of that pie.
Yeah, I know that Ashley's going to be heading to Brown University next year, and that's a great achievement for her and all the other students that were nominated.
Keith, you and I could have got into Brown, right?
I don't think so.
I think they would have took mine and said this is definitely a mistake.
But you know what? We've both done well, so we can look at that in terms of our education. That's what's important, making sure we do well.
Hard work.
Yeah. All right, Mayor. Thank you for your time. We'll talk next week. Take care.
I appreciate it, Keith. Thanks.
All right. And thank you for joining us this week here on FRC Media. I'm Keith Tebow. Have a great rest of your Thursday.